All right, we're back. Cap Table Talks. Got a brilliant guest, as always. You know, the standard of guests for this show has been pretty amazing. I got an incredible, iconic designer, great creative, incredible businessman, somebody I got to know a little bit quite recently. William Adoasi is in the building. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Doing good, fresh off a vacation.
Yeah, something like that.
Kind of as well. I got a bit of help on the presenting side as well. I've got the lovely Elisha R with us today as well, so changing up the format a little bit, but we're going to get into it all. Man.
No doubt.
Because you've been building this amazing watch brand, like in our culture, you know, been really well accepted by our culture, and outside of our culture, I've become a customer and a fan. I think we were talking earlier about like, where did this come from? Like, why did you start this? Because we see clothing brands, we see music, we see drinks. Those things are common in our culture, but to design and produce a watch is quite uncommon. So we want to start with where that came from.
For sure. I always say Vitae London was birthed out of frustration. Frustration on two fronts. Firstly, I was working a job in the city. I was a senior recruitment consultant. So yeah, like heavily commission based. Was doing really well in that kind of sales field, but I realized that I wanted to do something that had more of a creative element to it. And also I wanted to have something that had a positive impact to it. I guess like going into work every day and just punching in numbers just wasn't the one for me.
Right.
So yeah, I was just increasingly getting frustrated, and yeah, like ideas just started ticking. And when I was younger, I used to just collect G-Shocks. That was my thing. And then it graduated to these Aquamaster watches. I used to have a watch that would literally match any color outfit I had. I was a nerd for it like that. And then years later, obviously working in the city, I'm at that point where I want to get the big boy watches, the Rolexes, and I'm thinking, they're probably a little bit too pricey for me. And that's when I guess it was the light bulb moment. I thought to myself, I want to make some watches that have that premium look, that premium aesthetic, have really good quality materials, but at an affordable price point. So the average city worker, someone who's earning a good salary, but isn't quite at the level of buying a Rolex or an AP watch at that stage, can still have something that they could wear with pride. So yeah, in 2016, I had saved up some money towards a house deposit, and I decided to actually use it to start a business.
So you were ready to make that step onto the property ladder. You
100%.
said, you know what, I'm gonna go the entrepreneurial.
Yeah, let me rent a bit longer and give this idea my all. So initially, funnily enough, Vitae London was a clothing brand. So I started doing clothing designs for about 6 months, and I was just like, everyone does clothing, and not to put a slant on anyone doing clothing, but I was just like, it's so common in the culture and just in general. What can I do that's distinct, that's different, that will stand out? And yeah, that's when I guess had that recollection of my love for the watches, saw that gap in the market, and then yeah, just reached out to factories, and the rest is history.
That's important. It's not as simple. Like lots of us have ideas about it. Like I've had no shortage of ideas, but then the conviction to put it into practice, and what you're describing isn't just, oh, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to like leave a well-paid job and take a deposit that I've saved up,
conceptualize
and go start it. So that's a different level of courage and conviction, man. Like where does that come from?
You know what's crazy? I don't really see it as courageous. No? To me, I didn't really see it as that, because for me, okay, cool, I've saved up this money, but if I've saved it up, I can save it up again. And I'm going to quit this job, but if it all goes belly up, I can get another job.
Right.
So I was more so looking at the upside than the potential negatives. I was looking at the potential to make loads of money, the potential to make a lot of impact with each watch we sell. We help support a child for education.
Right.
So yeah, that's what my focus was, as opposed to the risk, because I felt like with the risk, I can make that money back.
Come back again.
Yeah.
I think that's like such a common mindset in entrepreneurs. You know, like a lot of entrepreneurs I speak to either think that way or have experienced the high, then the loss,
Facts.
and then the bounce back.
Facts.
But like I got to tell you, it is courageous, because, like I said, I've had hundreds of ideas, throughout my life at points where I haven't had the capital to back those ideas, and points where I have, and I've never done it.
I think another interesting point on that is that a lot of people from our generation, they want that overnight success, and the fact that you've made sacrifices and stuff, I think it speaks your character. But in terms of like sort of Gen Z, what advice would you give to someone that's sort of sitting back and thinking, I want to do this, I've got all these great ideas, but they're worried about making those sacrifices? Because it's a big step.
Yeah, I think my path wasn't necessarily the wisest, to be honest. I think it would have probably been wiser to stay in my job, to start building the business up, and then once it gets to a level where it's making enough money, then make that
Gradually.
switch. I'm just a bit of a madman at times. So I don't think I made the wisest decision. So I wouldn't necessarily tell others to do what I did. I think there is a path where you can build on the side. You can make incremental changes, build step by step to the point where, okay, it's built to a point where it's superseding your salary. So, okay, I can make that leap now.
So it's more gradual.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think that's an important point too, because as an investor, sometimes I hear people with good ideas pitching and they go, oh, we need 100 grand, we need 30 grand to run the business, and I need 70 grand because I need to quit my 70 grand job and I need you to pay it. And it's like, hold on a second.
Facts.
That doesn't work as an investor. So you're saying gradually.
100%, because even with that example, that 70 grand would have been better pumped into the business than that employee's salary, if that makes sense. So I would recommend that gradual move. But for me, I was so frustrated to the point where I just wanted to be all in with the idea. So I would recommend people to do it gradually, and also to not be intimidated by the scale of their idea. I always use this analogy of a mountain. Like, you can see a massive mountain and think it's so impossible to scale it, but literally if you take a few steps every day, you look back a year later and a year's extreme, but you look back and you've hit the top of that mountain. Right. So just incremental things every day towards the idea.
Yeah.
Just go day by day. And
100%.
Because we were talking about doing this session yesterday, and we were doing a bit of research, and we were both kind of online looking at the watches, like admiring, right? And even you were saying.
Yeah. I thought that I love like the emerald green and the gold mix. I think on brown skin especially, it's a win. But I love that you mentioned that you used to match your like watches with your outfits. Yeah. And then when you was talking about the G-Shocks and the Aquamaster was one of the first nice watches I had. I got it for my 18th birthday. It was like a white strap, white gold, like bust down, spinning bezel, and I thought I was hot with that, honestly. But Aquamasters, they were like it kind of like takes you back to a moment in time, doesn't it?
100%. They like watches often signify something significant. Like they point you back to that moment in time and cause you to reflect. I remember being 14 with my yellow LA Lakers hat and my yellow G-Shock watch. 17 with my bust down Aquamaster. Like, it really does take me back and signify moments.
Do you think they're going to come back? Because I've still got mine.
You never know. Vitae's here anyway, so we don't need them.
We don't need that. What is the design inspiration? Like, where does that come from? Because they all have quite a distinct look.
Yeah, for sure. I think my design process has also been gradual and just through lots of iteration. So when we first started, we had much more basic stripped back designs, and then over time I've just been thinking of ways to become more and more distinct. I'm thinking of ways to incorporate the culture. So like even the emerald green watch with the gold was sort of inspired by my Ghanaian passport. So that's got that green and gold, and I just saw that combination. I was like, okay, that would be dope for a watch. So I just think I started off very basic, to be honest, but with time I've just been able to iterate. I've got deeper into the watch industry to see and understand what works, what doesn't work. So it's just been a gradual process.
It's been massively well received.
Yeah.
Like, some of the people, like list some of the people who have put these watches on and become customers of these watches.
So Dean Forbes, of course. We've got people like Richard Branson, Pharrell Williams, Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. The list goes on. Emily Sandé. So many incredible people have supported us for the product and also because of our purpose as well. So
Tell us about the watch that you made for Dean. And I know you mentioned it was the first time you'd worked with diamonds and white gold. Like, tell us about the project, how it came about, what level of customization customers can have as well if they want that personalized piece.
100%. We've only ever made one personalized piece. So
okay.
This is our
very
first.
lucky.
This is our first, our one and only. I hope to do more projects like it in the future. But yeah, I think Dean actually approached me, I think it was about 2 years ago, saying he had an important occasion coming up. He wanted a custom watch. And to be honest, at the time, we didn't really have the full capabilities to go into the precious metal kind of field. We've mainly been working on watches with like stainless steel materials. But yeah, this year, well, from the start of this year, I've been really hands-on in designing more and more. I've reached out to more factories that can work with more intricate pieces, more precious metals. So I think I messaged Dean to say, hey, I'm ready. Like, I was just literally like, yeah, I'm ready. So if you've got anything, let me know. And yeah, just alignment. At the time, I think he'd just been invited to the King's coronation, to the garden party of that. And yeah, he reached out and said, yeah, let's design and make something for that. So that, it really stretched me. I was super excited to do it. And yeah, it was a process of iteration again, sending Dean designs and him being like, nah, it's too similar to your other watches, it's too basic. Where can we take it to that next level? And then sending him a design again, okay, cool, let's get some diamonds in there. Sending, okay, what material, like, so we refined it over time to a point where he was like, yeah, this is the one. I was like, okay. So went into manufacturing, and yeah, it literally shipped just in time for the coronation. If it was shipped like, I think 3 or 4 days later, we would have missed everything. So yeah, it was a super tight turnaround, high pressured, but I absolutely loved it.
Oh, it was wicked, man. It's without question my favorite watch.
Oh wow!
Like, it's without question my favorite watch. Both the meaning of it, and like you said before, that has been the basis of my watch collecting. Like, every watch I have pretty much marks a moment in time. So I don't really see the watch. I see the Sailor Primavera. I see the Sailor Fortero. I see the birth of my son. Right? Every watch marks a moment, and this has that element to it. But being able to participate in designing a watch is something I never thought I would have the opportunity to do. And when we had our 7 event the other day, I was speaking to somebody and they mentioned that they saw that we collaborated on the watch. And they went to me, when did William approach you about doing that? And I was like, no, I approached him. Yeah. And they were surprised by that. And we ended up having this conversation about how that all came to be. And I was saying, but I don't understand why people in our culture who can afford high-end watches are out like buying their 51st Rolex. Like, what? Do you know what I mean? Like, you want to buy your 51st Rolex and your 15th AP. Like, at that point, that brand doesn't care about you. Like, if you got opportunity to do something special, and that's how I felt about it. I was like, this is a big occasion, and you gave me the opportunity to participate in creating something 100%, special 100%. Inside of our culture that supports the charitable causes that you care about. It just makes so much.
100%.
So Dean, you had the watch design for the coronation garden party, is that correct?
Yeah.
So I guess, like, I feel like as well, I know you had like the suit made, but this is like your whole, like, stepping into that zone, representing the culture, representing 100%. The community. So I feel, I mean, tell me a bit about that and what 100%. It meant to you.
That was, do you know what it was, Leash? There's a whole thing about the royals and the institution in this country. And I was wrestling a little bit with, am I supposed to go? Like, is that appropriate for me to go? Like, I was wrestling with how I felt about that. And in the end, I reconciled it by saying, listen, I've worked hard. It's an amazing recognition to be invited. I would like to take that honor. But if I'm going to take it, I'm representing everything about us. So I'm going there in African colors. I wouldn't go there in traditional African dress because I've never worn that before. So it'd be disingenuous to like, put it on just to go there. But I'm going in the colors. I'm going in a suit made by us, and I want to watch them commemorate it. And if that can be made by us, like, it's home run for me.
I think that's so key. Like, that symbolization. There's subtle ways that people can, put the representation in there without having that political standpoint. Because this isn't for us. Right. Let me make it inclusive. So I love that.
Right. You gave me the opportunity you gave me the opportunity to do that, which is I'm like super grateful for it. So let's go to like the mechanics of it, because when you were here before and we was having dinner, I was saying, like, how do you even put a watch together? Like, if tomorrow I wanted to make a watch,
I would have no idea.
Like, where do you even begin?
So yeah, there's different components that make the watch. So there's obviously the casing. So yeah, the shape of the casing, the material used for that. The next component is like the internal movement. So there's the most common movement are quartz movements. So the movements on the everyday watches that need batteries. So yeah, our mainstream watches will typically have that sort of movement, super affordable as well. And then yeah, more premium watches have automatic movement. So they're actually run via kinetic energy. So your movement powers it, or you can wind it as well to power those watches. So we've been kind of stepping into that world more recently in the past few years. Just to try and take things up a notch to another level. And yeah, like in terms of my design background, I never really studied design. I was studying GCSE art, and I realized like halfway through the course I couldn't draw. So and there was one Mac for the whole class, I remember. So I was just addicted to it. I just on it all the time, figured out ways to manipulate imagery and design. And that was like the birth of my kind of design journey, and I've been designing ever since, whether it is flyers for my dad's church, or like I've just always been designing something in some vein. So yeah, when it was time to start Vitae, of course, even back then, my designs were a lot more basic, a lot more stripped back, but I've just been upskilling myself and fine-tuning my abilities over the years to the point where I could design a watch like that.
Perfect. And we were talking about the charitable aspect as well. Did you want to?
Yeah, so like obviously you mentioned every watch sale participates towards a child having access to education. Tell me about that, like in the passion. I know you've spoken as well about having purpose behind your business and what you do, and I think a lot of us that's important to a lot of us. And obviously you've chosen to take it back to sub-Saharan Africa. I know that you're Ghanaian, but tell me about the link, because I think it's lovely. It's nice to know that. And actually, I am gonna get a watch. I'm gonna get one. But I like that element of it, that it's got much more of a purpose than just me having a timepiece.
Yeah, like the purpose has been integral to us from inception. So Vitae is actually Latin for life. So the whole mantra is to be the watch brand changing lives. That's what we've always been. Our strapline is your watch, their future. And my dad's from Ghana. My mum's from a wealthier family. Okay. So my mum's one of 24 children. My granddad was like a chief. So yeah, he's like royal lineage in one area in Ghana. But then she found this poor dude from a village and they fell in love. So yeah, my dad's from a village and was the first in my family line on that line to learn to read and write. So he like broke this cycle of poverty, and he was only able to do that because one of his uncles was able to help sponsor his education, but it was a bit unheard of amongst his siblings, etc. So yeah, him breaking that cycle of poverty, I just think about my life and how I'm one of 7 children, and like one of my brothers heads up video for university. My sister's a doctor. My other brothers are music producers, had #1 records. So it's like through one person getting an education, my dad, the fruit of it is just immense. So I guess that's what inspired me to think, all right, cool. Like at the time I was supporting some children through education on my own, but I think the beauty of business is scale. Like its scalability is the power to reach many. So instead of just on my paycheck working in the city, being able to impact and support 1 or 2 children, now through Vitae, we've distributed over 3,000 items of uniform and over 5,000 solar lamps to children in need. And that was just through me having an idea and going for it. So it's birthed through my dad's story, it's birthed through my passion for the continent. And sub-Saharan Africa is the one region in the world where poverty has actually increased in the past 25 years. For every other region in the world, it's decreased. And that coincides with the fact that it's the region with the least amount of young people in primary school education. So yeah, just seeing that gap and seeing the parallels between education and yeah, where people can make it in life is what really inspired me to do that.
That's dope. And there's so much among us about gathering wealth and kind of harboring that wealth among ourselves. So it's so beautiful to see you have that like greater purpose and spread.
Do you have like connections in Africa? Because I know sometimes some people have the best intentions for charity, but it can be quite difficult.
For sure.
To conceptualize that. Like, is it, you know, obviously you travel back and forward. Have you built like a network, and can other people get involved if that's something that they would like to do?
Definitely. So yeah, I go back and forth really often. Though even in recent years, I have a house in Ghana now, so I've been living kind of in between here and Ghana. And for me, I think it's actually, I don't know how to phrase it, but I would see it as rude as someone who was born and bred here to go to sub-Saharan Africa and say, okay, cool, these are the problems I'm solving, X, Y, and Z, without the expertise, without the graft, without having done it for years. So the way in which we work is we empower charities that are already on the ground. Yeah. Charities we've come to learn and trust, and to know the work that they're doing, and to know that our money is going where they say it's going. So for us, we found that to be a lot more empowering. Also, it means that, yeah, I don't have to go through the legwork of building and understanding the needs and distributing those funds myself. But I work with charities on the ground that already do that. So yeah, that's how we do it. We make mention of the charities on our site. So if people want to donate directly outside of us, they can. And yeah, if they want to buy a watch and donate that way.
But to be clear, every single watch sold, a portion of the cost of that watch goes back to those charitable causes, which, if I remember rightly, are about kind of supporting educational needs. And one part of that is lamps, right? Like lighting and lamps, so people can study at home, right? Which is amazing.
So like, yeah, especially in like remote parts of Ghana, for instance, we do some work in Nigeria as well, in a region called Elisha. And yeah, in those regions, there's often struggles with electricity. So yeah, I was in a region in Ghana called Kumasi, and the young people there have to walk for hours just to find a street lamp if there's no power in their homes, or they often burn something called kerosene, which has health risks. It can affect your sight, it can cause fires often. So yeah, it's a very, very simple solution to just provide solar lamps. The charity is the one that, the charity on the ground called Pente Paper Ghana, they recommended to us that that's a path they're trying to go on. So we said, cool, we'll come on board and empower you to do that. So yeah, that's how it works.
So that's kind of one end of the scale. And at the other end of the scale, I think close to when we first started talking, your watches, you were negotiating and then subsequently closed a deal for the watches to be, I can't remember, Neiman's Marcus or Macy's? Macy's.
Yes.
Like,
That's
Macy's.
big, yeah.
So we're stopped.
He's so humble with it as well.
Yeah,
like, we were just having this chat, and he's like, I'm working on something right now. I'm trying to get the watches in the department store in the US. So I'm thinking, maybe I could help. I'm like, which department store is that? Macy's.
Casual.
All right, yeah, you're on your own.
Yeah, man. That was a beautiful journey. So it was actually Nordstrom that approached us first.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Nordstrom approached us, and we started a dialogue there. And even with Macy's, they approached us, I think, off the back of being jealous of us working with Nordstrom. So yeah, it's funny because a few years ago we raised some capital, and in the bid to raise capital, I remember mentioning that retail was a big thing on our agenda. We wanted to be in US retail stores. And in order to do that, one of my major focuses was on the design side of things. I wanted to ensure our designs were super distinct to stand out. And a buyer from Nordstrom noticed us. That's what started that conversation, which then opened the doors to Macy's. So yeah, I think we're in 56 stores across America now. So that's...
And how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I think we're at a point where we probably need to raise capital to pump into like PR, do more celebrity endorsements to just really ensure the stuff just sells out faster, and then we can get those reorders in. And we've got another reorder with Nordstrom coming up next month. So yeah, we really need to get to that next level of scalability now, but so far so good.
Yeah, going dope.
It's pretty amazing.
Brilliant.
And you spoke about your dad being a pastor. Tell me about that and what impact that had on you growing up and just your journey.
Being a PK is a very interesting. A PK is a preacher's kid, by the way.
Okay, I like that. A PK.
It's a very interesting life to kind of go through because you're always under the eye. So like I would go into church, I'm like 12 years old, I go in and I'll go and sit down. Then I go home and I've got a report from my dad that I didn't say hello to this person or I didn't. And if I do anything wrong, it's the worst thing on the planet, but all the young people could go around and do their badness. So it was like, yeah, it was a tricky season growing up, to be honest. Like it was tough. I felt like I was always under the microscope, and I'd go to a random place in I'm from South London, but I go to a random place in North London, someone would see me like, oh, you're Pastor Mike's son, aren't you? I'm like, okay.
I've got to behave.
I can't get away with anything. So yeah, that was interesting in terms of that side of things. But I think it was, yeah, definitely a grounding experience. I think growing up in the church has taught me a lot of different disciplines. And it's also taught me the power of community, the power of storytelling. My dad's a really, really good speaker. So yeah, sitting under him every single week and just hearing him speak and orating and being able to command a crowd, I think has definitely subconsciously played a big part in, I think, who I am today and how I'm able to present what we do and storytell.
Last bit on kind of the growth, the establishment and growth of this amazing watch brand that you created. When we were here having dinner before, we were talking about like the Richard Branson moment. I think that was the thing that made me first become aware of you, and I was like, how did that come about? And when you describe the story, it's like the ultimate shoot your shot story, right? And the guys at Earn Your Leisure said something similar on Monday, and it made me think back to that. But that was an interesting story that you.
For sure, yeah. With RB, I mean Richard Branson, that was. Yeah, so how it all started was there was some funding coming from Virgin Money. So people could apply for funding through Virgin Money and Virgin Startup. So I think out of 1,000 people who applied, I was one of 100 to receive some funding. And then out of 100, I was chosen as one of 2 people to get one-on-one mentoring with Richard Branson. And yeah, even with that, I just remember the application to get that, to become a Virgin Startup Ambassador. And everyone's doing these shots with their iPhones, like selfie videos, putting it on YouTube, submitting it. And I think I was in South Africa at the time doing some charity work. So I got a whole film crew. We went to the top of this mountain and I was like, we're shooting the most epic video. So yeah, we literally shot like a little movie. And then, yeah, I remember then going to Sir Richard Branson's house and just hearing even the chatter around like the Virgin employees saying like, oh wow, that's the guy that did that. And so just, I guess going that extra mile enabled us to stand out. But on the first day I met him, because of the whole hurrah and all the chaos around us, I wasn't able to gift the watch, or I wasn't able to really present it. And then I was given another opportunity to interview him in front of an audience. So at this point I was like, yeah, I've got you. Like, if I give you this watch in front of all these people, you can't decline it. So you're gonna have to take it. So so I'm on stage, I've snuck the watch onto stage. And he's like, yeah, introduce yourself to the audience. So I'm like, usual spiel, I'm William Adoasi, founder of Vitae London, blah, blah, blah. And I've actually brought your watch. So I just stood up, I gave it to him. He went a bit red. And I think he had a wad of cash in his pocket. So he was like, oh, well, here's some cash for the watch, because you should never give away your products for free. And then he took off his watch and gave it to me.
Dope.
Wow.
So I've got, one of his old watches.
Oh, he gave it to you?
I like that.
Yeah. He gifted me a watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely...
you got to put the Vitae watch like directly...
on his wrist, right there.
And he gave you some cash, so instantly he saw value.
100%, 100%.
I love that. I love that story. Like I love that story. I didn't know he gave you his own watch as well.
What watch was it?
It's like something called Lockman. It's like an Italian brand, but quite niche, really nice watch. So
But
that's sitting there.
I love that. And on Monday with the Early Leisure guys, they were talking about that too, and they were saying that so many entrepreneurs get a meeting with or just bump into somebody who can impact and influence their journey. And what do? They get their phone out and they take a selfie.
Yeah, they're not ready.
They take 2 minutes to take a selfie with this person instead of saying, I've got this dope idea, I'm building this amazing business, here's why you should care about it. And it made me think immediately of this, that you were just like, I've got this opportunity. If this guy puts the watch on, you get the picture.
Facts.
And suddenly...
Yeah, I think that moment really helped blow the brand up. We went viral on Twitter, viral on a few other platforms. So I think, similar to it being one of the first time you recognized the brand, I think a lot of people in the culture saw it like, who's this guy from our culture with Richard Branson? What is going on here?
But it took, again, it takes some courage to think, you know what, I'm just going to go and do that. And there's a fine balance, because you can't be overbearing, you can't be rude, because then you have the reverse impact. Like you're the arsehole who just
100%.
ambushed this 100%. Person, and then suddenly it's poisonous for the brand. So you got to get it right, and you nailed it, man. That was funny. I remember hearing that.
So William, you got a scholarship at age 11, and you grew up. You had quite humble beginnings, and then you were just, immediately plummeted into this new world that was completely new to you. I feel like in hearing you speak, I can see how it shaped you. Like even that exchange with Richard Branson, I can see how that would have been beneficial to you. But somebody who, like myself, grew up on a council estate, and so many others who haven't been in elite circles, haven't had those experiences, how do you enter that world?
I grew up on North Peckham Estate and then Elmington Estate.
Sorry, so much good comes out of South.
Yeah.
Like, I want people across the country to enjoy it. I really do. But in cap table talks, I haven't really moved out of South London. I don't mean any disrespect to any other parts of London. Like we love all parts of London. But what is it? This is like the 5th or 6th cap table talk that I haven't moved out of an SE postcode. That's too much.
That's crazy. So I grew up on the estates in Peckham and Camberwell growing up, and my dad was super hard on us around education, obviously because of his background. So most days after school, we'd go to these tutoring classes to just refine ourselves, and there was this pathway to boarding schools that this tutoring class kind of provided. So through that, just through him being on my case every day, it was definitely reluctant hard work for me. I didn't want to do it, but he was just constantly on our case. So at age 11, I get this scholarship to a boarding school, and I think that experience was ridiculously eye-opening. And my other brothers ended up not going to boarding school, and just some conversations with them, and I didn't even realize, but they say that often I have this confidence in some rooms that they don't necessarily feel as confident in instantly. And I think that's purely because, I was living with them. I was in and around them all day, every day. I saw at 11, I'm being exposed to these mansions and these cars. And I think it was, the beauty in it is that it shows you what's possible. Often I think from our communities and cultures, it's hard to reach that pinnacle or level because we haven't seen it. But once you see and visualize something, or you touch it, it's you can obtain it.
The mystery's gone.
Right away.
These things exist. There's one over there. I saw a guy with one there.
And actually, speaking to this guy, he's actually not that much different from me.
And I'm just so this rich guy, you haven't even showered for 4 days. You're I'm beating you in lessons. I'm beating you in sports. It's
there's no reason to fear.
There's no reason to feel intimidated at all by anyone from any walk of life. So I think that's definitely shaped me and my mindset. Also, I think it gave me a bit of a chip on my shoulder. So I remember I think I was about 13. We went to play a game of rugby. We never lost rugby matches. But in this game, we somehow lost against a school of commoners, how they would describe it, right? So we lost to a standard state school. And at the end of that match, someone from my school referred to them as council estate scum. And at that point, it was so humbling because I was thinking to myself, do you not realize that I'm from the same, like I'm from the same background as these guys?
Not know where I come from.
Yeah, do you not know who I am? Do you know what I'm saying? So I think for me that was it's never left my mind, and it's always been like a motivating factor to kind of just prove and show the world and show others that despite where we've come from, despite our humble beginnings, like we're limitless people. We can do great things. We can build a watch brand where there's not many people that look like us in that world. So yeah, it's definitely helped shape me.
It's so inspiring. Like, I think seeing people do well and succeed in life is great, but especially when they come from backgrounds such as yourselves. And like, I think you've spoken, Dean, as well about like, you know, there's so many skills that you can learn on the council estate in the hood that you can apply to business as well. But it's just so inspiring hearing that. And I know that so many young people that are in those situations now, listening to people like yourselves, will see that and think, you know what, that there is a chance, there is an opportunity.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not me? Yeah.
Yeah, and now you're, like you said, you're splitting your time between here and Ghana. And a little while ago, I was watching one of your social media platforms. Why is this guy shooting videos now? Like, he's shooting videos all of the time. Like, what next from this guy? So you're a DJ now, making music. Is that right?
Yeah, funnily enough, I was making music before Vitae started. So I was lead singer of a gospel band with my brothers called Divine Impact, and we did university tours. We would just music was really our thing.
I didn't know that.
So like all my siblings play instruments, being PKs, and we just here's an instrument, sort it out. We need a guitar. So growing up, I did that a lot on the side while working in the city. I fully put it on hold when I started Vitae, because I do think you do need a season of intense focus, like not doing anything else. So yeah, to ensure Vitae was birthed, that's what I did. And then it was actually during lockdown I started making music again. Had a bit of more time on my hands, and just kind of went back to what I love doing and how I love to express. So I sing, I produce, I play a bit on some instruments. I released an EP during lockdown, and the lead single of that has now hit like over 1 million streams. And it's doing really well. So I've been touring, DJing, and having fun again. So
is that fun for you? Is that a release, or is that another hustle as well, another business hustle?
I wouldn't say, you could call it a business hustle. I'll more so describe it as just another expression of me. So the same way when I design a watch, I'm expressing creatively. It's the same way when I make a song or when I'm DJing. It's just other forms of my expression. And I really, really enjoy it. So just keep building and pushing.
Dope. Love it. Love it. Well, look, it's been a pleasure. You know, I'm a fan. Alicia's
definitely
now
a fan.
a fan. It's been, and again, I can't thank you enough for like allowing me to participate in designing a thing that I love and is important to me. And I just wish you like every single success possible, man. So thank you.
Thank you for the honor. Thank you for entrusting me. I really do appreciate that. Like, this whole process has been amazing. So yeah, I just want to say I'm really grateful to you.
Oh, cool. And listen, I don't want to hear anybody talking about flexing, balling, until you got that one of one piece from Vitae. Like, you want to go and buy your 50th Rolex, good for you, man. That's nonsense. All right, take care. Thanks all.